The artifact that will be spoken about for this project will be about Muhammad Ali and his fight for civil rights. So, in context, what you're going to hear in this project is Muhammad Ali and his background, his take on the civil rights movement in the 1960s, the association with Malcolm X, who was a really key figure during that movement, and the aftermath, and a bit more like his facts and the conclusion. So, for first impressions of Muhammad Ali, of what he's about, many people consider him as one of the greatest boxers of all time. He was also a very controversial figure, in which we will get into it in a bit. He stood up for what he believed in. You know, he has a lot of sayings. One of his most famous quotes being "Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee," which captures the essence of a adaptable approach to challenges in life. He was also known as the nickname Louisville Lip, which meant which showed his extremely confidence and cockiness. Because if you look at one of his interviews, he looked like he knew what he was talking about. Yeah. So we'll get more into him now. So his background story: Muhammad Ali was born Cassius Clay on January 17th, 1942. Yeah, he was not named Muhammad Ali. He was born in Louisville, Kentucky, so he was born in the South. And as a black kid in the South, yeah, he faced a lot of challenges during his childhood. Growing up in a very segregated society, he's experienced multiple racial discriminations. Uh, he started boxing in high school from a policeman. That's something I actually never knew. But I'll tell you the story. So Ali discovered boxing at 12 years old after his bike was stolen. And then he wanted to chase the thief, and of course, a policeman came and helped him. Not only did that happen, but it also began his boxing journey. Uh, yeah, I mean, growing up was difficult, like I said, and his early interest in boxing was a response to the difficulties he faced. It really like brought him a sense of passion to like self defense and whatever happens in the South. Despite his challenges, Ali's upbringing played a crucial role in shaping his character, as he would eventually become one of the greatest boxers of all time. As I write right here, he became world champion on February 25th, 1964. Notice here, though, that he was still known as Cassius Clay, but the same year he actually converted into Islam, and he changed his name from Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali. He joined the Nation of Islam, which was a religious and political movement advocating for the rights of African Americans. All right, so what was his take on civil rights? Um, Muhammad Ali, like I said, always known not to be afraid of anybody. So he was a very vocal supporter of the civil rights movement throughout the 60s. As he was world champion, he really inspired and had a big voice in this take. He used his platform to speak out against racial inequality and discrimination. Like I said, he experienced racial prejudice growing up in the South, so he really has experienced this and wants to make a change. One of his famous quotes: "I am America. I am the part you won't recognize, but get used to me. Black, confident, cocky. My name, not yours. My religion, not yours. My gods, my own. Get used to me." Like I said, he was really big on his cockiness, but it really worked. Yeah, he spoke a bit against bigotry and, like I just said, spoke against discrimination in the USA. And here's another quote: "So what? We black people have been in jail for 400 years." Ali's outspokenness on issues of this racial justice and his refusal to accept the racial injustice, it really contributed to his legacy as an influential figure of this movement. His words and actions resonated with many who were fighting for equality, which was many people in the South, and social justice during that period. It was really difficult, but Muhammad Ali was just one of many people that had a big name.
Now, although Malcolm X liked Dr. Martin Luther King and his teachings, his view was completely different compared to the Luthers in the 1960s. MLK was arguably more influential by simply advocating for equal rights rather than for fighting for American rights during this time. Additionally, MLK's protests, such as the Montgomery bus boycott, led to his infamous I Have a Dream speech, which was presented as a positive campaign seen to have an influence on the government. The counterpoint to King's message was that African Americans need to be armed for self-defense. Malcolm X wanted to show the whites what the alternative to King's message was if this problem was not resolved. In order to get equal opportunities in the U.S., Malcolm believed African Americans must meet violence with violence to counteract with the whites who inflicted violence on the African Americans. The connection between Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X are very similar. Both Ali and Malcolm X were diverse figures in American history during this period, representing a variety of political, ideological movements and both having positive and negative associations with the movement, resulting in numerous opinions to spread throughout the world. The controversial life choices made by these two prominent figures throughout the civil rights movement caused individuals to view them as either heroes or hated public figures. There is, however, something that can be said for both of these people. They followed their intuition in a highly moralized sense for either right or wrong, which embedded them to live their lives in a more ethical manner. Even though Ali was known for his violence in the boxing world, he was seen as a more relatable and positive figure towards the American society as a whole throughout the civil rights movement than Malcolm X was. Through his talents in the boxing world, blacks and whites came together in celebration through his accolades for how good of a boxer he was. Additionally, a large part of why Malcolm X can be viewed as an icon of the civil rights movement is due to his incredible life story. The epic life story of the man illustrates the possibility for a change on a personal level. Whether he was raised as an orphan, a street hustler, a drug addict, prisoner, etc. It is through the life changes that both Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali went through to solidify their status as an African American icon during this period. In a quote by Amon Benjamin Karim, Malcolm X, God's judgment of white America, the chickens come home to roost. In the quote he states, he criticizes the white society of America, thus encouraging hatred towards the African Americans, potentially manifesting into further violence. Has he done so as a political tactic for African Americans to rise in a physical fight towards potential danger from whites? In another article by Murr Hughes called Malcolm X, The Man Behind the Myth, by the Guardian website, in this quote, he states that Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali were among a number of black leaders, both at the grassroots and of a political level, who inflicted their influence on black and white society. Malcolm X, the talisman for black America, was known for promoting violence and black supremacy. While on the other hand, Muhammad Ali did not want to use violence in the fight for equality. He also took a stance by putting his foot down to stand for what he thought was right.
All right, so the aftermath of the civil rights movement. He continued to be an outspoken figure on various social issues after the civil rights movement. As a matter of fact, right after the civil rights movement was the Vietnam War. That's when that happened. And Ali's refusal to be drafted in the U.S. military during the war, it led to big controversy. Sorry. Yeah, he did not serve in the Vietnam War because of his religion. And because of that, he was, not only was he stripped of his boxing titles, he was banned from the sport and lost all of his boxing privileges. And like you see, he was fined $10,000 for it too, which I would say was pretty big money in the '60s. But yeah, it was really bad. I mean, his take on these views really gave him a battle. But eventually, years later, he was allowed to box again after a court battle in 1970. And, I think right here, Ali's career really kicked off. I'm not going to go too much in depth, but, he got the fight of the century. He regained his champion that he lost, all because of his takes on the civil rights movement and not refusing to go to Vietnam. The fight of the century against Joe Frazier. The picture you see right here is taken from this picture. This is just a very, probably if not the most popular sports picture of all time. You've definitely seen it. I'll say that. He's also had a couple of other matches, but I'm not going to go into depth of that. He would eventually retire boxing in 1981, and he would put his views on world peace. So, like I said before, he had a very powerful voice. He was very strong with his words, and he would eventually become an ambassador for humanitarian causes. So he would travel his few years, but unfortunately, he actually caught Parkinson's 3 years later, so he wouldn't travel as much. But he did really try his best to continue to inspire people all around the world, and yeah, he was just really he was very passionate about what he. Here's other facts about Muhammad Ali that I didn't really get into much because it's not about Civil War, but it's something you should. I would highly recommend you get to know because he was a very interesting man. He won a gold medal in the 1960 Olympics. He actually lost a champion, but then he won it a third time in 1978, making him, I believe, the only three-time world champion in boxing. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but he has talked out of a man out of suicide in 1981 from a window. It was very popular. I'm not like I said, I'm not going to get into it too much. Unfortunately, I did say before though he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in '84, and he would actually have that for the remainder of his life. Ali's famous gloves are up at the National Museum of American History in Washington D.C. Ali's gloves, symbolize his personal courage, both inside and outside the ring. He was a fighter his whole life. He fought, obviously, in boxing, but he also fought for the rights in the civil rights movement. He he was just a fighter, and he was really strong. He was just a very courageous man. Also, his religious identity too. Converting to Islam, changing his name. His gloves reflect his faith and the values that he embraced. All right, to summarize everything that has been stated so far, Muhammad Ali was a vocal supporter of the civil rights movement during the 60s. Ali would make his own decision and take risks in life. It really made him the person he is known to be today. Yeah, he used his platform to speak out against racial inequality and discrimination. He was very passionate about boxing, sure, but it really allowed him to have a voice also in the civil rights movement. He spoke his mind and expressed what he felt. He really spoke the truth, and although, yeah, it was controversial, it didn't matter. He continued to speak out on various social and political issues. Yeah.
Muhammad Ali's connection with Malcolm X in the 1960s was solely based on experiences, beliefs, and acquiring self-interest for the struggle of civil rights and social justice.